and welcome to Mr. Sitchfield's podcast, Creepy Corner. I'm your host, Anthony M. Winston. Join me as we venture into the world of horror movies, explore chilling, creepy stories, uncover unsettling urban legends, and share ghostly encounters that will send shivers down your spine. This week's co-host is a dear friend of mine, Lindsay Foster.
Hello.
Lindsay is joining us to share in the frightful fun. Get ready to embrace the darkness and let's get creepy. Ooh. So, Lindsay, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. If you want to tell the listeners how we know each other.
Well, it's probably been about 10 years now, I think. Is it 10?
About 10 years.
About 10 years, yeah. So we met through a friend of ours that was doing a short film with you.
Yep.
And you needed somebody else, and she suggested me, and then we met. And then I was like, I love him. And we worked together for a few times after that, and then we were just friends.
Yes.
So pretty much from that moment, really.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, we seemed to click straight off.
We did, yeah, which was really nice. Doesn't happen very often, does it? But
No, I think we just got on very well because I think we both had quite the rude sense of humour.
We did, yeah.
Innuendos galore.
It just started from the get-go, and I was like, yeah, this is my kind of people.
Because you weren't the first choice, were you, in the short film?
No,
and then
I wasn't.
The other person dropped out for whatever reason it was, and Katie said, well, I've got a friend that's potentially interested. And you came on board.
I did.
I don't think we actually met until the first day of filming, did we?
No, we didn't. I think we'd messaged a little bit because I was like, are you sure? Kind of thing. Because I was like, oh my gosh, how am I going to learn all of this? Because it was quite, for a short, there was quite a lot to learn in a short period of time.
Yes.
And you were like, oh, it'll be fine. And I was like, okay. And then, yeah, that was the first time we met, first day of filming. And then we just cracked on.
We did.
Yeah.
We did. And yeah, I think our love for each other has just continued ever since.
It has indeed.
It
yes.
has.
Yeah.
So in today's episode, Lindsay chose the topic of discussion. In a secluded, fog-shrouded mansion, a mother guards her light-sensitive children from a sinister darkness. But as the walls begin to speak and the shadows move, the line between reality and the supernatural fades away. Turn down the lights, brace yourself, and step into the unknown with us. This is Mr. Sitchfield's Creepy Corner, and tonight we present The Others.
Dun, dun, dun.
How was that?
That was very good. It was very atmospheric.
Thank
much
you.
like the film.
Thank you very much. And can you believe it was made in 2001?
No, I looked it up because I was like, I want to do this film. I'd pick that one. And then I was like, it's been a while, but I've got no concept of time anymore. So I was like, nah, maybe like 10 years ago.
That's because you have a picture in your attic that is aging and you're staying young forever.
I don't think so. I wish I did, but it's very kind of you. I appreciate it. But yeah, I genuinely was like, oh, it's probably about 10 years old. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's more like 23 years old. Yeah, I was like, early 2000s. That's crazy. That's gone so quick.
It is. Do you remember the first time watching it?
Yeah, I think I did because I think that's why I like it so much, because it kind of stuck with me a little bit. Because I like trying to guess things, and I was a bit like, I don't think this is what it's being presented as, and that's why I kind of enjoyed it. 2001, so I'm trying to work my age out now. I was a teenager, so I was probably like 16, 17, something like that. So I definitely remember watching it thinking, this is cool. I like this film. But yeah.
Such a palpable atmosphere.
Yeah.
It really has in that film. And just to touch briefly, and apologies because a lot of the names are so hard to pronounce in this film. So apart from, it stars Nicole Kidman, that's an easy one.
Yeah.
A Lankina man, apologies if I've butchered that name.
Yeah.
James Bentley, piece of piss, can say that. Fiona. Wow.
I think, right, because I was looking at this and I was like, how would you say that? Because it's obviously very Irish. I can't decide if it's like Fionnuala or Fionnuala or... poor woman, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm sure someone will correct us.
And Eric Sykes. And here's the big one. Written and directed by Alejandro Amenabar. Oh, I didn't do too bad.
You were good on that one. I'll let you
Thanks.
do that one. You got pass. Much easier.
Because Alejandro was a Spanish director. Is a Spanish director. and this was his first English-speaking movie that he made.
Yeah.
And apparently he wrote it in Spanish and then had it translated into English.
Oh, that's interesting. I did not know that.
That must be very difficult as a filmmaker. You have this vision that you need to get across.
Yeah.
And if you wrote a script in your native language, obviously English can't be a strong point for you. Mm-hmm. So then to come to set and try and put your vision into words for these other actors, especially like American actor as well, Nicole Kidman, who's the star of it.
Yeah.
Trying to get that across to them.
Well, she's Australian.
Australian. My apologies. Of course she is. Duh.
She's a... No, I don't even think... I was going to say, is she American in this?
No, she's English.
No, she is English. She does a very good English accent. In fact, I remember thinking that, sure. So, yeah. But, sorry, I interrupted.
No, it's fine. It's, I'm glad you corrected me because otherwise people sound
I was like, people are going to come for you if you don't.
Like, are you dumb? Yes, I am. And apparently, Alejandro said that to get the kids worked up in the film, he used to play scary music when it was least expected.
Yeah, that would do it.
Those kids are formidable.
They are. Right, he's cute. The little boy is cute, and he's like, you can tell he's scared. You probably shouldn't say this about kids. She freaks me out. That kid, she's got it down. Like, because you're never quite sure at any point kind of what's going on with her. I know there's obviously the story itself, but with her, do you know who she reminds me of?
Who?
I think she freaks me out a bit because she reminds me of Linda Blair from The Exorcist.
Oh, okay.
She's got a similar sort of look as Regan, and so it just scares me.
They did such a good job, though, as kid actors, because kid actors can be very hit and miss.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think in horror movies, it's more miss than hit. Mm-hmm. I mean, they'll fill the part, they'll do what they do, and you kind of accept that kid actors aren't that great, so you just get on with it. You don't really think much of it.
Yeah.
But these children did a fantastic job.
They really did.
They beat out over, I think it was 2,000 other children for the role.
I can see why, because they were sort of a massive part of the story,
Yes.
so they really did have to be good.
Yeah.
I think they nailed it.
Yeah.
To be
I mean,
honest.
you think of the little boy from The Ring and how bad he is. I mean, I don't want to be horrible because, like I said, he is just a child, but he is a very weak point of that film. So you kind of, like I said, you accept that child actors aren't particularly very good.
Yeah. Sometimes I think they have the look that you're going for, but can't necessarily... I think it's quite rare to find naturally talented child actors because it's something you train to do. You can have innate talent, but I think you harness that and you work on it and you hone your skills as you grow. So when they're quite young, it's quite rare to find they already have that ability that they'll
Not every child
train.
is born Dakota Fanning.
No, they're not. That's a very good point.
So watching the film, because you said you watched it fairly recently.
I did, as a reminder, as a bit of a refresher.
A refresher course.
Yeah.
Is there any pivotal scenes in it that you found most unsettling or always get you?
I think the fact that the added element... I feel like I'm trying to talk without spoilers, and I'm like...
Oh, no, you can spoil
spoilers,
it. This film is
like
20-odd years old. If
I
you've not seen it by
what's
now.
the limit on spoilers? I'm sorry if you've not seen it by now. That's on you. There's quite a lot of really atmospheric shots when you find out that the help in the house is also dead.
Yes.
So the three of them kind of shrouded in fog, coming out of that fog in the dark as well. That just looks like so impressive and scary. Because you straight off the bat, you're a bit like, these have just shown up. Her advert hasn't even gone out in the newspaper, so why are they here kind of thing.
Yes.
But yeah, I always think that looks very cool.
I think with that scene in particular as well is we kind of are led to believe that they are the villain of the film.
Yeah.
And that they are dead. So it's very unsettling and unnerving watching them, like you said, coming out of the mist, slowly approaching the house, because they're in no rush.
No.
They know the secrets.
Exactly. They've been there a while.
Yeah.
So they've just got to kind of just bide their time. I think as well, because a lot of the film largely has to be dark because of the children have this sensitivity to light.
Yeah.
So, going from room to room, locking the door behind you, having the curtain shut, already you're building that sort of tension of, gosh, they live a life in darkness.
Yes.
So I think all of those scenes, it already adds a level.
And apparently they said with the cinematography and with director that he wanted to play a lot with shadows. So a lot of the scenes were shot with minimal light, external light. So they use natural lights from like the candles from outside, that kind of thing, to actually film the scenes. And I think it shows, and I remember reading that many years ago, and I brought that to the set when I was making Children of Darkwood House.
Oh, okay.
I tried to use a lot of candle light rather than overexposed lighting to add dark shadowy patches in places and things like that, because in the shadows you don't know what's lurking in them.
Exactly, yeah. So it adds that element because they're always in the dark.
Yeah.
And she's moving around, and it's an old house as well.
Yeah.
And there's things in each room, and you're like, you can't really see, and then you can see, and it definitely
like
adds
the bit
to it.
with the painting, where you think it's a face in the shadow, and then it lightens up and it's just a painting.
It's just a painting, but it looks so effective.
Yes.
Like, you're like, oh gosh, is someone there?
Yeah.
And then she turns the light on, and it's like, oh no, it's gone back to just being a painting.
Yeah.
So it's very clever.
And that, I think, is very effective in the way that it's not necessarily a jump scare. Like, you can see this face, and you're waiting for it to move or do something, and then the lights come on, and you're like, oh, it's almost like a relief sort of thing, that's this scare that you're waiting for, but it's not the scare still coming.
Yeah, what I really like about it is it's more tension building than jump scare, because I think that's got its place. There's one or two, but I think that definitely has its place in films. But I think there's nothing more unnerving than tension building, and you being like, I know something is going to happen, or I know something is happening, more than they are realizing as characters. But it's that kind of I don't know, it builds that you hold your body differently, because you're like, something's coming. So even if you figured the story out, you know, you're like, but when are they going to figure it out?
If anyone comes to you and says, we're not going into the twist just yet, but if anyone comes to you and says, I knew the twist an hour into the film, I'm calling shaded. No, you did not figure that twist out.
I'm trying to remember at what point I did think.
You could
I'm not sure.
Amiss.
Yeah. Probably not straight away. Definitely not straight away. But not at the end either. I was like, I don't think this is... You're being led down a certain path, but I don't think that's the real path, if you like. So,
and just talking about the scares again, I think something that is done very well and effective that a lot of scary films don't do is, you were saying, films that are building tension. I don't mind a jump scare if it's done correctly.
Yeah.
I remember watching The Nun. Have you seen The Nun?
I haven't watched The Nun, no, but I've watched The Conjuring that it came from,
But The Nun has to be one of the worst examples of filmmaking and jump scares. The film is one big jump scare. It's jump scare after jump scare after jump scare. And the first one is going to be, oh, that made me jump. But if you have so many in quick succession, that person has got time to calm down, build that fear. That just at that point, you're like, it's just loud music. I'm bored now.
Yeah. You over-egg it, and then you ruin what you had.
Yes.
Basically.
Yeah. Absolutely. In the others, the sound design is done spectacularly.
Yeah. It
the
is.
Footsteps that you hear running around, just those noises throughout the film, and you, as a viewer, especially if you're watching it in surround sound, the sounds are coming from all around you, and it's done so well. Yeah,
you're always questioning whether she's imagining it, because she's very much against it. She's very Catholic. It's like, these things don't exist, and you're constantly questioning whether, is this a horror, or we're just watching this poor woman kind of mentally break, because you're aware that her husband's gone off to war,
and she hasn't
heard from him, and it's that kind of, she doesn't know, we're led to believe she doesn't know whether he's still alive or not. So, you know, you can empathise with that kind of, and she's left with her two children who have this quite serious condition. And it's a time, obviously it's the 40s, I think it is.
And I think the good thing that they put in that is where she said, we don't have any working electricity. They kept cutting it off, and now we've learned to live without it. Yeah,
I thought that was really interesting. That almost feels relevant now. Like, we're going to get to a point where, you know, we are going to maybe have to start relying more on older ways of doing things. The old days. I think that you're not quite sure whether this is something supernatural or we're just watching this woman's descent into madness.
Yes.
And I quite like that as well.
Oh, absolutely. And something really funny that I learned, and this was years ago that I learned this, and have seen bits of it. Did you know that there's a complete Bollywood remake? It's called Hum Can't High.
Do you know what? I didn't. Didn't know that.
Hilarious, the fact that it was so popular, because it was in 2004, so it wasn't that long after the original.
Right. Oh, okay.
And I don't think, from what I remember, it was set in the same time period. I think it was more modern, but it's a complete remake in Bollywood.
Wow.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
I've seen bits of it,
Right.
because I think it used to be on YouTube, so I just skipped through it once, and was like, because there's no way I'm going to sit through a Bollywood film.
Okay. Fair enough.
I mean, I don't think it would happen in this one, but Bollywood has a reputation for song and dances midway through scenes.
Yeah.
Just outlandish.
Well, that was what I was just thinking. Is it just, are they going to sort of just burst into song and dance to explain
the twist?
The twist, yeah.
Dun, 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 kid's dead.
Yeah. I can see it. I can see it. Interesting use of music and singing there, but you never know.
1, 2, 3.
Yeah, and go.
Everyone's dead.
Yeah. I think maybe it could be less cheerful than that, but...
Well, I think it was Bollywood, it has to be.
That's true, yeah. Wow, I didn't know that.
Something I find really sad is, do you know the scene when Grace, Nicole Kidman, when she finds the death book?
Yes.
With all the dead people in
Yes.
it. And obviously that, I thought was a nice way of bringing it into the film, but it's also very real.
Yeah.
That back in the day, they really did do this. So
Yes.
people were posed like adults with their favourite belongings, like
Yeah.
books and things, and children were posed with their toys and teddies and things. And apparently it was because photography was so rare, it was the only time that person would have been photographed.
I just find the whole concept really strange. And I was thinking about it. I was like, oh my gosh, like, that's such an odd thing to do.
Yeah.
But because I'm looking at it as a person living now.
Yes.
And of course, if somebody that I know cares about, loves, dies, hopefully I have memories of them and photographs and things like that, because I've got that technology to do it.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have had that back then.
No.
But it just feels odd that it would be when they're already dead.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, this is mum.
Yeah.
She's dead in this picture, by the way. And it's like, oh, cool.
Quite unsettling.
It is. But I kind of see the logic behind it. And probably back then it wasn't. I'd be interested to know whether people thought it was weird.
Yeah. Victorians were obsessed with death, though.
They're a very strange,
They
like,
loved
era
deaths.
of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Death was a fascination with
Yeah.
Victorians. Ghosts were a fascination with them
Massively,
as well.
yeah.
Like, I think ghost huntings and things like that were very much like the peak in Victorian era.
Yeah.
They were obsessed with it.
Yeah.
They
I think
it.
they were kind of an era where they had a lot more information
Yeah.
than previously, but not the level of information we've got now.
Yeah.
So they were somewhere caught in the middle of a bit of knowledge, but not enough knowledge, and
They
kind
were-
of just filled in the gaps wherever they felt like it.
They were like the first era that started to ask questions.
Yeah.
Before that era, or midway into that era, obviously the women wore very long dresses that used to drag on the ground.
Yeah.
But then they started to learn about diseases spread through cow manure, which was rife everywhere. And so they lifted the dresses up, like they shortened the dresses in that era, so that they weren't as dirty and they weren't traipsing that through their houses, and they would just start to think more.
Yeah, to just discover different ways of doing things. That
Yeah.
was like, oh, this makes sense.
Yeah. But not quite
But not,
enough
yeah.
to like, let's take a photo of grandma, she's dead.
Yeah, oh, she's dead. We should capture this moment.
It's a moment I want to remember.
Yeah, definitely want to look back on that and think, Grandma.
Oh, yeah. Can you imagine, like, going to, like, a house? I don't think they ever hung them. I think it was always kept in, like, a book.
Yeah.
But could you imagine going to a house and it's just, like, a family portrait on the wall, like, several photos? So this is Granddad
Yeah,
in his best suit. This is Grandma.
Yeah. No, I don't think I'd like that. I don't think I'd like that.
I just find it unnerving seeing pictures of dead people, because I have stumbled across some in my time on the internet by mistake. I know you're probably like, how do you mistakenly stumble upon dead people?
No, I know. The internet's a strange place sometimes. It can.
Well, when I was doing
path.
my research for the Amityville with my brother, I was looking up crime scene photos for the outside of Amityville.
Right.
And accidentally stumbled across the actual crime scene of all the dead bodies.
Oh, lovely.
And I was just like, okay.
I think it's something we're just not used to.
No.
We don't, very few people work in a field where you'd see that on the regular. I'm sure to them it's just second nature, but it's not something we would experience.
I think we have become very protected
Yeah.
of death and our immortality. We're not as connected to it as previous generations. I wonder if that's why so many of our generations and younger are scared of dying.
Possibly.
Because we are so disconnected
so
from
far removed from it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because back in the day, it was commonplace for children to die. People died young.
Yeah, that's a good point. I think we've established so much technology and medicine that we are living longer. So it's not as commonplace for people, even people having their grandparents a lot longer.
I think grandparents back in the day were like 30 years old.
I'm sure they weren't. But mine died when I was quite young. So, but I was just like, oh yeah, you have grandparents as a kid.
Yes.
And then you don't. Yeah. And it kind of, that's how the cycle goes.
Yeah.
But now, yeah, I agree. I think people are living a lot longer and surviving a lot more illnesses or conditions, you know. So there's not as much death around.
The thing I find really interesting as well is going back to the groundskeepers is Mr. Tuttle. Mr. Tuttle.
Yeah.
He has the same name as another caretaker from another haunted house movie.
Does he?
The Changeling with George C. Scott. His groundsman is also called Mr. Tuttle.
Maybe it was a nod.
It is. Apparently, there are a lot of similarities between The Changeling and the others. The director was heavily influenced by The Changeling, and if you haven't seen The Changeling, I've said Changeling now too many times.
The word's lost all meaning.
Yeah. It's like, isn't that a strange word when you say it now?
Changeling.
It's a very, very good film. Highly recommend it. It is like the pinnacle of haunted house films. Okay. It is done so well. And it almost should be illegal as to how long it has taken to get a decent quality version of it on general release.
It's always the way. They're just the sort of older classics don't get the love they should.
No. I know it had a very low budget when it originally came out, and I don't know if it did very well when it first came out, but if you speak to hardcore horror fans, they will sing its praises. It is such a good, creepy haunted house film, and it inspired me a lot watching it into my own filmmaking. So for any listeners, and you, Lindsay, because I can see in your eyes you've not seen The Changeling.
I was trying to just stay quiet and not say anything.
I'm not a seasoned horror fan at all.
I'm not. I used to watch a lot when I was younger, but I'm such a wimp now. Honestly, it's because it's done well. It scares me. I can watch slashers all day long.
Yeah.
Blood and gore, not bothered. Don't know what that says about me, but it doesn't bother me. I can watch it, but anything that's ghosts or supernatural honestly terrifies me. So I will watch some of it, but I've got a really overactive imagination. I don't need any help. So my brain just hates me. If I watch things like that, it's all I'll think about.
You probably might need someone to watch The Changeling. Yeah. Because it is. I remember watching it with somebody and they disappeared from the room. And I remember thinking...
Were they ever there?
Well, now you're making me wonder. I remember thinking, where are they gone? And it was like 30 minutes. And I went downstairs and went, where are you? What are you doing? And he went, just cleaning up.
Oh, I didn't like it.
I was like, do you not enjoy it? It's just not my thing. And I found out he was terrified.
Oh, that would be me. I'd just slink off and be like, sorry, it was too much.
Wall outside needed painting.
Yeah, I just needed to go and hoover the pavement outside.
Brilliant. I think another scene for me that stands out and I think was done very effectively, do you know the junk room?
Yes.
When she goes in there because she thinks there's an intruder in the house and she can hear things and like the door starts to close and she's ripping all the sheets off the mannequins and things like that, the statues. Such a well-paced scene. It's so good.
It is. And do you know what else? When you really think about it. So she's in denial at the moment that this is anything other than people in her house.
Yes.
But she's gone in there.
Yeah.
Like, she's brave.
Yeah.
She's a little bit... We're not quite sure how hinged she is. She's a little unhinged. But, like...
Not sure
how hinged she actually is. But she's like, don't turn any lights on because I don't want them to kind of know I'm coming. I'm going to go into this room full of sheets. Even if you didn't think there was a ghost to be seen, you thought some people were in your house. She's like... I'm ready for him. I was like, whoa, yeah. She's brave. She wants to protect her children and her house. Yeah. But then that just kind of adds to the atmosphere of it as well, that you're like, oh no, is there going to be like something under this sheet?
Yeah. I think it's such a good scene. The one that makes me laugh is, do you know when she's had enough of the turtles? Mm-hmm. You have to say it like that. It's the law. The turtles. Mm. When she's had enough of them, and she goes on, you will help me hang these curtains and then you will leave.
Yeah.
You've just fired me, woman.
Yeah.
I'm going now.
Yeah. Do you think I'm finishing this shift? Because I'm not.
I always
I'll
think
see you later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? You deal with this. I'm off.
I think this is a you problem, Grace. Sorry. Like, fire me and expect me to still work for you? I don't think so.
Yeah. I just never understood the reasoning behind that.
No. I like the fact that I think her name's is it Mrs. Mills?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's like, do you know what? I'm getting bored of this now. I'm at the end of my tether with this lady.
I think she says that,
Yeah, I think she does. She pretty much is just like... And that's where you're not sure whether whether they are kind of good or not.
Yeah.
Because you're like, well, what's their secret?
Yeah.
She's like, I think it's time we unearthed or uncovered the gravestones.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no, what's coming?
Yeah.
So it's clever.
What do you take away from the husband returning, which was played by Christopher Eccleston?
Yes, it was. Watching it again, it's almost like he's a bit in limbo, and obviously you could argue they are. I think that's the point. They're not quite, well, they don't at this point know any different other than the husband has not come back. It's the fact that she's out in the fog.
Yeah.
And he just appears.
And she gets lost in the fog.
She gets lost in the fog, and then he's there. And it's a bit like, okay, that's very fortunate that he's just arrived home at this time.
Yeah.
Clearly very shell-shocked.
Yeah.
So again, it's that level of you're not quite sure whether he's somehow made it home.
Yeah.
And he's just very much shell-shocked or, got PTSD from whatever he's seen.
Yeah.
Or if something more is going... You question everything, I think, by this point.
Yeah.
I kind of took it that he was back to see his children and leave and say goodbye. And he wasn't planning on sticking around in this limbo.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I took from it.
Yeah.
Did you have a different opinion?
I kind of feel like because she's escaping her realm, or so to speak, because she gets lost in the fog, that maybe he was sent to guide her
that's
back.
Interesting, yeah.
And to try and make her move on with him.
Right.
But she's obviously still lost herself.
Yeah.
So she can't move on to the afterlife.
Yeah.
So he then moves on himself, like she's a lost cause, and then he moves on to the other side.
Yeah, because he knows at this point what she's done.
I think
somehow.
So. Yeah.
Which still isn't revealed yet, but he knows she's done this terrible thing.
Yeah.
But then he feels very despondent anyway, and he just leaves again.
Yeah.
Do you think he was necessary in it?
No.
No, I agree with that. I don't think it added anything to it, to be honest.
I think everyone that says it sort of lulls at that point because of that scene. It's just not particularly needed. I think maybe because they thought, well, why is she just staying in the house all the time?
Yeah.
So they were trying to finding a way to get her out of the house, but then a way for her to come back into the house.
Yeah, possibly.
Bring her back. But no, I don't think that the scene is particularly needed. It doesn't add anything to the film.
Well, she could have done that anyway.
Yeah.
If she went out, I mean, the housekeeper tells her the weather's too bad.
Yeah.
So you didn't need him to bring her back. She could have just got lost in the fog and then gone, well, I'm back here again.
Yeah.
So,
Literally.
yeah.
It's like Sean Bean in Silent Hill.
Yeah.
He's just not needed in a film, but they only added him because there were no male roles in the film.
Right.
So the studio put it back on them and was like, you need to have a male. So they wrote Christopher Bean's character.
Sean Bean. Christopher Bean.
Christopher Bean.
Christopher Bean, we've got a new person.
So they added Sean Bean's character to level out the female ensemble.
Oh, no. Heavens forbid we have a all-female cast.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And Lewis says that it kind of ruins Silent Hill, the film, because it just takes away from what is happening, that you have to keep cutting back to his character and stuff like that. I think if the film had been set during the war, it could have been interpreted that maybe he was dying at that point.
Yeah.
And he came back into the limbo that she's stuck in. And then when he disappears, it's because he then actually dies.
Yeah,
he could have been in a hospital bed or something.
Yeah,
whatever.
We could have seen that even.
Yeah. And maybe that's why he then disappears, because his body died and he just moved on because he didn't want to stick around. But because it's after the war, it doesn't make quite enough sense.
Yeah. And the fact that he leaves his children there.
Yeah.
He just goes.
Yeah,
rather than try and take them. Yeah. He just leaves them there. See ya.
Yeah. So, I mean, going into the twist now, so, I mean, we've dropped hints at it, you know. They're all dead!
Very subtle.
Yeah. I remember that my sister ruined the twist for me before I watched the film.
No.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
She said to me, have you seen that film? I was like, that narrows it down.
Yeah, which one?
She's like, that ghost film, the one where it turns out they're all dead at the end. I was like, no, what film? They're like, and then she was like, oh, the others, I think it is. And I remember thinking to myself, well, thanks for that.
Why would you do that?
Yeah. So the first time I watched the film, I thoroughly enjoyed the film, but I didn't know. I already knew that they were dead.
You didn't have that element of trying to figure it out because you'd already had that info.
I mean, I was quite young at the time because I remember I didn't understand the twist to the Sixth Sense.
Right. See, someone ruined that for me before I went to see that one. Yeah.
People.
I know, honestly.
People irritate
Don't
me.
talk to anybody.
Yeah. Well, just don't say it.
Yeah. You didn't need to do that, but I was mad. Because I was going to see it. I was at school when that came out. I was going to see it, and then they ruined it. And I thought, well, I'm going to still see it. But now the element of all of that, because everyone was talking about it.
Yeah.
When that came out, everyone was talking about it. And I thought, well, thanks. You ruined that. But still a very enjoyable film. But
still, me and Lewis watched it last year for the first time in Yonks. And I still think it's a very good film. And Toni Collette.
Oh, I love her.
So good. I do.
I'm such a huge fan.
Toni Collette, if you're listening,
we love you.
Not that you will be listening, but you are.
You never know.
Amazing. Like, amazing.
I've loved her, like, since Muriel's Wedding.
I knew you were going to say that.
It's such a underrated film that just doesn't get the love it deserves. Muriel. Oh, you're terrible, Muriel.
Love it. Just again for the audience, please.
I can't do it now. You're terrible, Muriel. That's her sister, and she's just like, what are you doing?
Love it.
But I just think she's so versatile, and I'm so kind of pleased for her that she's had the career that she's had since then.
She has had quite a strange career because she's been in highly successful films, but never been a major star.
I know, and I don't understand it.
No.
Because the woman's incredible.
Yeah, and in Sixth Sense, she plays that role with such heartbreak.
She does.
Like, I remember the scene when she's like, please just talk to me.
Yeah.
You know, and it's so heartbreaking.
That scene in the car as well, when they're in the traffic jam because the woman on the bike has just had her accident, and he's talking to her about being at the graveyard and what you asked your mother. Her face in that, I could cry a million times over.
Yes.
Just like the emotion that comes out of it. It's the point where she finally kind of also starts to believe him.
Yes, about the bumblebee pendant.
Yeah, the bumblebee, and she asks her if she's proud of her, and oh my gosh, yeah.
And he asks her like, "Mum, do you think I'm a freak?" And she's just like, "I could never."
Yeah, exactly. She's just a mum, and
yes.
It's just a great performance.
It really is. I think everyone in that film does a splendid job.
I agree. We've segued into a different film.
I don't know how. How did we segue into Sixth Sense?
Oh, because of the twist.
Twists.
Yeah.
Yes.
Twisty turnies.
So, yes, we will segue back to that. But I just remember I thoroughly enjoyed watching the others, but the twist had already been ruined for me.
So the twist, obviously, is that they are actually the ghosts.
They're dead.
They're dead,
They're worm food.
They think that these people are in their house, or they've got ghosts in their house, and they can't understand what's happening. And then this sort of marvellous moment of, it's not them that are dead, it's you.
Yeah.
And then you get the reveal of why they're dead.
Yeah.
Which is really sad.
Yeah. She smothered them with a pillow and then shot herself.
She did. And you think, okay.
So the people that they think are ghosts are actually the living.
Yeah.
I think that is a genius twist, though.
It is. It is, yeah.
I would love for them to have done a sequel from the other's perspective.
Yes. That would have been very interesting. I know we see that a lot, but because of having this film first, to then kind of see...
And not necessarily even like an outright horror film.
No.
just a similar sort of vein maybe to the others. It's not about having a twist because obviously but just seeing it from the other perspective.
Yeah.
I think that would have been very clever.
It would have.
Especially if it had been done correctly.
Yeah.
And well thought out.
Yeah. We'd got it all there for you
Yeah.
because obviously this film starts, you've got your classic, she's talking to a little boy, his name's Victor. It's that, oh, here we go, these kids, these creepy kids in this dark house.
Yeah.
Are seeing another creepy little kid and classic ghost story. And then it turns out that, Victor's the living boy.
Yeah.
And they are the ghosts that he is talking to.
Yeah.
I just love it. I just think it's clever. And
I mean, even if they brought out, not necessarily the others too, if they'd made the film and not let on that it was a sequel.
That'd be interesting.
And then you could be watching it as a fan of, say, the original and being like, hang on a sec.
Hang on. Victor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like the curtains being taken down and things like that. And oh, wait, I think it would have been really clever.
The curtains kind of always being opened again, even though sort of Grace swears blind she's closed them, because she's then starting to question herself, because she's like, I'm sure I shut these curtains. And then obviously the other family are opening them because they don't want their house to be dark all the time.
Yes.
But yeah, I loved that reveal, and they're obviously doing their seance at the point you see them, and she explains what happened to them.
Yeah.
So it's very sad.
It is. I learnt as well that apparently the director wanted Emily Watson for the role of Grace.
Oh, I can see that.
Nicole Kidman.
Yeah.
The one that I would be interested in, apparently Jodie Foster was up for the role as well.
I mean, she's amazing.
Yeah.
I love her.
I would love to have seen that.
Yeah.
Because I think Nicole Kidman does a fine job. I'm not going to say she made the film what it was. Mm-hmm. She played it the way that she played it. Mm-hmm. That's fine. I'm just not the biggest Nicole Kidman fan.
Okay.
I feel she just seems to whisper a lot when she's talking.
There are some films of hers that I absolutely love, and
Practical Magic.
Of course, you read my mind.
Yes, I know.
She's got some. Obviously, I mean, her career is just outstanding, but there's some things I think I'm not that bothered.
Yeah.
And then there's other things I think, amazing.
Yeah.
But I know what you mean. I think she did a great job in this film, but I can also see how it could have been played differently as well.
And I think if you had somebody like Jodie Foster in that role, I would have been very interested in seeing what that could have been with Jodie Foster. Someone that had the range that, say, Jodie Foster has.
Yeah.
I would really have enjoyed seeing her play that role, because I do love Jodie Foster as well.
I do.
She
is amazing.
Awesome.
Definitely.
And I think that would have been quite an interesting change of...
It's always strange, isn't it? Like, some films, you watch them and you think, there is nobody. I cannot imagine who would have done this role better. Like, there's nobody that I can think that I would have replaced them with.
Yes.
And then there's other ones and you think, I can think of about 1 million people I would have cast instead.
Yeah.
I think Nicole Kidman does a great job of carrying this film, but she's got some amazing supporting cast.
Yes.
Like, we can't say her name, but
yes.
I'm going to call her Fee. Fee Flanagan. She's incredible.
Yes.
She pulls that character off because she's sort of...
See, her...
She's menacing and loving at the same time.
Her, absolutely. I couldn't imagine anyone else playing that role.
Exactly, yeah.
But the role of Grace, I could potentially envision many other actors maybe performing better.
Okay, yeah. I know what you mean.
But again, I'm not shitting on her acting.
No.
I think, like I said, she did a wonderful job in what she did.
Yeah.
She probably feels differently herself,
Yeah.
As an actor yourself, you always watch yourself back going, I could have done that better or whatever.
I can't watch myself back because I'm like, why did you do that?
You idiot!
You could have done this so many different ways and it would have been better.
Yes.
Yeah, you do that.
And for me, it's just another notch on my bedpost of ghost films, because I love a good ghost film.
Yeah.
And I feel that there are too many that are too convoluted in their storyline.
Yeah.
And I like a good, simple ghost film.
I think this is where this film, for me, stands out, because I think less is more sometimes, so do you. And I think that clever films have their place. I think there's space for everything.
Yes.
And I like that this is engaging and atmospheric, but you can follow it.
Yes.
You're not at any point going, oh gosh, I'm not clever enough for this film. You still know what's going on all the time, but you can still enjoy that. And I think twisty, turny, very thought-provoking films have their place.
Yes.
But I also think films like this have their place too.
Yeah. And I think we're very similar in that we do like spooky things as well.
Yeah, we do.
We do. I mean, you and fellow friends took me on a ghost hunt for my stag do.
We did. Yeah.
Went to the Haunted Museum
We did.
in Nottingham.
And it was creepy.
It was creepy.
It was good fun, though. I really enjoyed
Such
it.
good fun.
And I was like, I'm such a wimp. I'm so scared. I think at one point I was like, please hold my hand. I don't like it, but I'm having fun and we'll find a ghost for you.
We will find a ghost.
We will find a ghost. Yeah. But that's a cool place.
It was. I mean, it's not there anymore. Like, it's
Is
the
it
Haunted
not?
Museum's moved because the building was too unsafe.
How do you move a haunted museum?
Well, the building not necessarily was haunted.
Oh, the
so it was
items.
The items, so
Okay.
to speak. I think they moved up Marion Way, I think.
Oh, right, okay.
I think the building itself was just asbestos galore.
Oh, so we did well to stay alive then.
We did. So I think they basically were like, it's going to cost too much to do, so let's
Yeah.
just move. And I mean, good old Gav as well.
Oh, good old Gav.
Classic Gav.
There's always a Gav, isn't there?
Oh,
There's
he would-
always someone.
I do wonder if he was a plant because he was just like, he never really started at 1. He was just always at 100.
Yeah, you did say that at the time. You were like, is he a plant? Because why is he in every room we go into?
There's someone touching me.
Something's touching me.
Someone's touching me.
Can you feel that? Can you feel that? Like,
There's something in my hand.
Gav, if you shut up for a second, the rest of us might be able to, like, you know, bask in the atmosphere of this horrific, quiet, haunted place. But it was.
Do you remember being in the attic part as well?
Yeah, I do.
With Sarah Ellis. It's like
Good old
all
Sarah.
holding hands doing a seance. It's like, is anyone there? And Sarah's in the corner eating crisps.
Sarah's just like, me.
Yeah.
Crunching away.
Crunch. That, honestly, that'll live with me forever.
That's why it was such a fun time, because we were all like very seriously looking for ghosts.
Yes.
And Sarah, from the get-go, they don't exist. And then we're all trying to do a seance and she's eating crisps in the corner.
It was hilarious. Is anyone there?
She's like, anyone want one? We're like, no, Sarah, shush.
I think one of the scariest moments of that night was near the end of the night, weren't we? And we all crammed into the spooky little attic bit.
Yes,
And was having like a seance of who's there.
we were.
And then came that almighty crash. Do you remember?
I do
Everyone
remember. Shit themselves.
themselves.
Fully.
And then the organizer was like, I need to go and investigate that. Who wants to come with me? I was like, I'll go with you.
I was like, absolutely not.
I've seen horror films. I'm not dying first.
Yeah.
Me, on the other hand, was like, I'll go with you.
Yeah.
So, shitting myself, mind you. Like, I was just...
You were very brave.
I was pretending to be brave.
You were braver than me.
I mean, Gav didn't offer.
He didn't, did he? For all his, ow, I can feel this. He was not brave at all.
No. So we went downstairs and it turned out to be the owner of the Haunted Museum
Yes.
opening the shutters to let somebody out. So it was like, oh, so it wasn't a ghost.
No.
Which would have been interesting, but...
It was because it was so quiet, and then suddenly the shutter making the noise it made was so loud that
Yes.
everyone was like,
I mean, we were quite a distance away.
We
as well.
were,
Like,
yeah.
It's a big building. That sound travelled.
It did, because we all shit ourselves.
We
so,
did.
yeah.
We did.
And that it had a room at that time that, had they just opened it, hadn't been opened for like literally
They were
years, or they were
trying to.
trying to get it open but they couldn't.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if you're like tricking us and you just want it for atmosphere, but it worked.
It was bold.
At like 2 in the morning, it worked.
Yeah, they eventually opened the door, and air quotes, eventually opened the door, and inside they found a doll and a pentagram.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, BS. I'm calling BS.
Fair enough.
And this was a ploy. 100%. That was not real, I don't think.
Well, it was very effective at the time.
It was.
But it was good fun.
It really was.
It was good fun. We did a few different little bits.
Yeah.
I will never use a Ouija board. And there was...
Did you use it that night?
No.
You didn't?
I just stood and watched.
I've got one over there.
No, it's fine, thank you.
Are you sure?
I'm
we can try
very
it live
sure.
on the podcast right now.
No.
And, I will only know if anything comes through when I come to edit it.
No.
You're like my brother, he won't touch it.
I don't mess with stuff like that. I just believe it. I don't care what other people think. I don't care if you think I'm silly or whatever.
Is it because you watched The Exorcist?
No. Well, yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no.
Yeah, but no. I just think that I'm respectful of these things, and knowing my luck, I'll end up with some dark entity riding on my back or something. So I just, no, I'm not doing it.
Riding on your back.
Literally, like, attached to...
You're like a really good friend. You know when you're lonely at night?
Oh, don't
You're like, Beelzebub.
Get away from me. I'm trying to sleep. He's just like in my ear.
Or he might be like totally gay and be like really chatty. I'm like, girl, that outfit with those shoes.
I feel like that's a film we should make, that actually instead of something dark and scary coming out of a Ouija board, it should be like, girlfriend just appears. Your gay best friend appears.
That's Elzebub.
Yeah, maybe I've just watched too many films, but nothing good comes from it.
It's true.
So.
But do you remember the table tipping though?
I do. Yeah, that was really like cool, actually.
Yeah, I tried to do table tipping and never had the success of that evening.
No, I remember Fiona and I were just looking at each other like, how is this nearly touching the floor? But we are, because she was like, I swear I'm barely touching this. And I was like, me too.
Yeah.
But it was tipped at such an angle it should have fallen over ages before.
Yes.
It just didn't fall over. It was just nearly touching the floor. So that was cool.
Yeah, it honestly... I remember thinking that, like you said, it was so far over that thing should have crashed to the floor. I mean, a table, even if you've got your fingers on it, like, you're not physically holding it.
No.
It's just your fingers on top of it. As soon as the table goes to a certain point, it would
can't
fall.
stay up.
No.
I mean, we're not talking like a dining room table. No. This was like a little...
Like a TV dinner table.
Yeah, exactly.
Kind of
so it was light, but you would still need to sort of hold it a bit, but we had our fingers on it, our fingertips on it, so we weren't holding it in any way, and it was tipping, and it was just quite a cool experience.
Yes.
I'd say that was the most for that particular one. I don't know if it's because there was a group of us.
Yes.
Diluted whatever was going on. I don't really know. There was a lot of orbs though. Yes. You could see that on the screen.
Because you could see on the CCTV.
Yeah, we were watching the CCTV of the room as well. That was interesting. But I'd say that was the most activity we encountered. Oh, and the little sort of the sensor balls going off.
The cat balls.
Yeah, the cat balls in the, what was the old, I don't know what it was. Is it just an old room? It had an old gurney, like a hospital bed.
Oh, in the basement.
Yes. That had supposedly come from what once was known as an insane asylum.
Yes, I remember.
That was quite interesting. That's when Gav really kicked off.
Yeah. Someone's touching me. Someone's holding me hand. Yeah, it's Fiona. She's next to you.
Yeah, Fiona's holding your hand. She's like, it's me, Gav.
Don't worry. I'm not a demon.
Yeah. So, yeah, I'd like to do something like that again.
Yes.
I'm very interested in it. I'm also scared of it. Yeah. Don't mind admitting that.
Me and Lewis have done 3 ghost hunts now. We've done Bow Manor Hall in Loughborough. Luga Baruga. We've done one at the Lizzie Borden House.
Yes, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's so good. And we've done one at the Gallows of Justice in Nottingham.
Oh, have you?
Gallows of Justice one was very active.
I have been to that when I was in sixth form at school. We did a summer school. I wasn't in summer school. We were helping the year 6s that were coming up into year 7 do a little sort of taster of what it might entail.
Okay. Yep.
And we did a little group trip to there, and it's the strangest place. I would like to go. I've not been back since, actually, so that was a very long time ago, because I'm old. I'm so old.
I'm getting me pension.
Yeah, not quite, but not far off. And the sort of dark cells that they've got, that you go in, the second you sort of go in, there's no light.
Yes.
It's terrifying. It's very claustrophobic, but there's a lot of energy there.
Yes.
And I didn't know that's what, I think I've always been a bit sensitive to it, but I'm still learning about what it all means, and that I don't think I quite realised how much I'd picked up on. It just felt sad.
Yes.
And desperate.
Yeah. Well, the
dark.
history that we heard when we went on the ghost hunt, I mean, I knew a bit about it before I went, just from reading about Gallows of Justice and things, but the things that they did in that building are horrendous. There's, in the courtyard, there's a big concrete patch that's different to the rest of the cobbles.
Right.
And apparently back in the day, above that, there used to be a joist that stuck out from the building, and they used to hang people from that until they were dead, cut the rope and let them fall into the pit, cover them over,
and just leave it. Yeah,
and they're probably still there now.
Probably.
And then there was something in the in the caves part, where I can't remember the word is. It's French.
Okay.
I can't remember what it's called. And it was basically where they left people that were dying to die.
To just die.
Like the unfavourable people that were dying. They just, or not necessarily unfavourable, to them they were unfavourable.
Yeah.
Probably a woman that spoke back to someone, you know.
Oh no.
I know.
I'd be screwed.
So they used to put them in this cave and just let them die. And it was pitch black.
Yeah.
Pitch black. Like, I'm not talking dark where you
can see your hand or yeah.
Down there you cannot see anything.
Mm-hmm. That's what the cells were like. Some of the cells, the isolation ones.
Yes.
Normally if you go into a pitch black room, your eyes will adjust eventually because it will find any little source of light that it can. There's nothing.
Yeah.
It's just solid.
Yeah.
And claustrophobic and awful, and I just can't imagine
it's the strangest,
being locked in there.
It is the strangest feeling. Like, I remember we went down into the caves bit, and we didn't go down into the pit bit because that's covered over now, but there's another cave bit, and they said, okay, we're going to turn all the lights off. And it's just the strangest sensation to have all the lights off and not be able to see anything. Because like you said, normally your eyes will pick up something to adjust to. But this was in there for 20 minutes with no lights on, and pitch black. You might as well have had your eyes closed.
I'd be starting to lose my mind by that point, I think.
You might as well be completely blind for all it's worth of having eyesight, which would be horrible way to die in that alone. It's barbaric the way that people were treated, and not necessarily for doing anything that heinous.
No.
They may have stolen a loaf of bread to survive.
Not by Jean Valjean. Not by today's standards. You can't imagine the punishments because of things that today you wouldn't even register.
No. Today people get away with so much.
Oh my gosh.
You could murder someone, and in all intents and purposes, if it's a first defence and you spin a good tale as to why, you'll go to prison, but in the UK the maximum is 25 years and probably wouldn't even serve that. Back then you could have, like I said, stole a loaf of bread to survive, and you're now condemned to die in darkness. There's a tale, actually, that I want to do, so tune in for this, because we have now gone past that hour, about somebody in Nottingham that was hung, and apparently he was like one of the last people to be hung.
Oh, okay.
Hanged. He was...
I believe hanged is the correct term, but it just doesn't feel right.
It doesn't sound correct on my lips.
It doesn't.
No. And it's a fascinating tale.
Oh, interesting.
So I really would like to cover that at some point.
I'm sure you will.
So now that we have gone past our hour mark with our lovely, incomparable Lindsay...
Oh, thanks.
we shall call it a day on this episode.
Yes.
Would you like to say anything to our listeners?
I hope you've enjoyed the episode. I'm sure it went all over the place and was rambling, but hopefully good fun.
Yes.
Because our brains just do that.
Something I keep being asked by Lewis to include, and I keep forgetting, so you will be one of the first people since my brother introduced it.
Okay.
Name a scene or person from a horror film from when you were younger that terrified you, that still stays with you today.
Oh, gosh. Oh, I feel put on the spot. Okay, I didn't watch the film, and this is why I didn't watch it. And I have previously mentioned her, so shout out Regan. There was a programme on TV when I was younger, and it was just this thing called the A to Z of horror. And I couldn't sleep one night, and I put my TV on, my big square TV in my room. Not even big, it was little, what am I on about? And it was on.
Like
and
heavy.
You're one of those, if you're old like me, you'll know. And it was on E, so it was The Exorcist, and it was showing little clips of it, and I was like, why are you doing this? It's 2 a.m, you don't even like this thing anyway. And I must have only been, I don't know, 13, 14, something like that. Maybe even younger than that, actually. And they were showing clips from the film, and it was the clip where she comes down the stairs backwards, basically, like bent over like a crab. And I didn't sleep for weeks, and I didn't even watch the film. I just watched a programme with a few clips of the film, and I was convinced when I went to bed that she was stood at the bed like side of the bed, so it really freaked me out, and it took me a very long time to actually watch the film, which now I've watched it as a grown-up.
Yeah.
It's still scary. I do think it's scary, and so I'm sure some people don't, but like I said, I have a brain that just absorbs everything. So she's probably the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
So thanks to Linda Blair for your sleepless nights.
For terrorising me as a child, yeah.
As you do. Well, thank you for joining us on Mr. Stitch Film's Creepy Corner. Don't forget to subscribe and leave a review to keep the darkness alive. We appreciate that. Until next time, remember to keep your lights dim, your doors locked, and as always, stay creepy.
Stay creepy.
Bye.
Bye.